我叫做 Eryk Michael Smith， 住台湾应该将近30年左右。父母亲是传教士，所以小的时候大概7、8岁就先来台湾。I remember coming into at that time it was a Chiang Kai-shek International Airport. Let's say 83, 84. My mom's like tells my dad to go get us something to drink. He came back with a assortment of like cans or juices and stuff, and one of them was asparagus juice and another was starfruit juice. I despise both of those.
How could you? How dare you?
Mango.
Texture.
Mango's the way to go. Somebody had helped us rent an apartment in the Tianmu swimming pool area, which was where the foreigners lived back then. We are on the 5th floor of Totie, and I remember we're there. I don't remember how long we'd been there, but they're like, we need food. But we're talking about 没有麦当劳，没有 7-Eleven. So they send me out with my mom. We go into one of these little mom-pop convenience stores. The proprietor comes out and, 可以帮你吗? I can't speak any Chinese. He can't speak any English. But I'm like, bread? We look point around, 面包. Oh, so I learned my first word from this guy who ended up continuing being a friend of our family for quite a few years until he died. In the short time that we were here, he bought a bicycle for me. It was an old thing, but spray painted it, got it all, you know. That kind of helpfulness, that kind of kindness is different. Go the extra mile. I don't know if there's a Chinese 成语 for that one.
再走1公里.
Yeah, 可以啦. That's funny, you know, I've been here for so long, but I can say 进退两难. And a long time ago, I decided too much work, because you have to know the story behind it. You know, the Emperor Shi took a sword to the Tar, you know, it's 太复杂. So 不好意思，成语没办法.
Did you go to like Taiwanese school, or how did you learn Chinese?
We didn't go to Chinese school. There was a missionary school. There was no Chinese there. So most of the Chinese is just from picking it up from talking to people and imitating. So to this day, I will say 护照, because that's how I heard it, sort of a lazy tongue from my Kaohsiung 国语. And I actually tell local people to not be afraid to do that with English. No one has ever in my 25, 30 years said, oh, you know, 这个外国人中文好差, you know? And we don't feel that way about Taiwanese people, you know? 没有人在算说，哦，你刚刚那个 verb 是用错的, you know, module verb 扣分这样子的. So 台湾人应该要了解讲英文的，如果可以沟通，那就好了. So I'm the eldest of 10 children.
Whoa, that's a giant family.
Youngest brother, I'm about 19 years older than him. We're only here for about 6 months on a first time around. You know, we've been in Hong Kong, Macau, China, Japan, Korea. And I remember at one point we were in Japan somewhere and my dad asked, okay, kids, what are the countries of Asia? That we all said Taiwan, because that little 6-month period that we were here left an indelible impression.
So 10 kids.
Yeah.
And you're moving around Asia. Like, what was that like being on a plane together?
I don't recommend it. You know, my parents were of a specific religious belief that when God gives you a child, you have that child, and God keeps giving very frequently. I only have 2 children for a reason.
Are they in Taiwanese public schools?
Yes, and that's been quite a trip. So I can't really help them do their homework in Chinese. And then there's the frustration of me feeling a lot of the stuff that they're being forced to learn is unnecessary. Math, for example, I'll look at it and I'll go, yeah, this would be good if you're studying to be an astronaut, you know, but you don't need this, right? So with my kids, I don't demand the kind of scores. They come home and they're, oh, 我数学考80分.
Great.
Yeah, that's excellent, you know. And to hear some of the kids, you know, say, oh, I got 98, and the parent says, 你为什么没有考100? It makes me sad. They really are sort of being driven mildly insane by the education system. A kid shouldn't wake up at 6 o'clock, go to school all day, go to Bushiban, and come home at 9:30, then do an hour of homework.
That's pretty normal.
那是很正常，没错。但是 when do you have time to play? Have you broken a bone before in your life?
I broke my finger taking off my sock.
That's a good story. But I mean, okay, I'm 47, and most of the people my age, when you ask them, like, have you they're like, yeah, I fell off a bicycle, or, you know, we're climbing a tree.
Yeah.
Letting kids learn by experience, letting them fall. One of my daughters, the younger one, she has a mark on her head from all the time she smacked her head into poles and stuff. And she had a fun childhood.
You've lived in Kaohsiung pretty much the whole time?
No, I spent 10 years in Taipei working for ICRT, the China Post, Next Media. Taipei's nice when you're single and have a little bit of money, but it's not a real good place if you're not so wealthy and have children. So This was my old 故乡. There's a village in Niaosong called Kaotan. So that's where the first place was that, I moved down here. And when I first came down here, probably 1989, 1990, I didn't like it at all. It was dirty, polluted. We were in Qijing once and a dead pig went floating by in the water.
Really?
The Love River used to be all kinds of different colors and, and this place in the past 25 years has metamorphized. And we have to really be thankful to Frank Xie Tangping, who was willing to put plans into motion where he wouldn't be the one cutting the ribbon necessarily. Wu Duanyi did his part as well. And now we are starting to see the fruits of those labors from the 90s. The light rail is finished this year. The harbor has been completely transformed. The ducks are in there right now. You should go get the video of that, the ducks. The music center, MRT lines, things that I would have never dreamed that this city would have had. So unfortunately, we have a lot of young people who sit in their room with their Wi-Fi and their aircon. And they're playing their video games. This is all over the world. In Taiwan, it makes me extra sad because we have such a wonderfully rich story that is so undertold and underappreciated. And that's why for the past 3 years, I've been doing a podcast called Formosa Files. Our podcast is listened to in 138 countries around the world. And we tell stories about Taiwan's history. 大部分的小孩子或是年轻人，你跟他讲说历史，他马上就想到无聊，就想睡觉。但是历史不是什么19什么什么什么 ，it's stories. And every story is a link to another story. And when you learn these stories, you develop a pride in Taiwan because 你了解我们真的在70年以内 we were so poor. In the 50s, people were going to the Philippines as maids. There were no shoes, that level of poverty. You appreciate people like Morris Chang, who built Taiwan. Taiwan used to produce all the umbrellas in the world. China took that over. They used to produce all the bicycles. China took that over. So what did Taiwan do? They retooled, they rethought, and they created bicycles that were better value, but at a better price point. And so Giant is, I think, the world's biggest bicycle company. And definitely the best. I have one, I've had it for 12 years, it still works. When you know the stories behind these things, you have a pride in yourself, and it's not because of choudofu. Taiwan's food is not our greatest thing. It is, it's wonderful. But it's the people, it's the history, it's the combination of blood, sweat, and tears, ingenuity, hard work, really. Taiwanese people worked really hard to bring us what we have today. And young people,
all of you out there,
yeah, appreciate what we have. In 1987, some Vietnamese refugees washed up on a beach on a little island just off of Jinmen. They were massacred on the orders of a general. They buried the bodies in the sand. Dogs dug up the bodies. Why I like telling this story is because it would never happen today. A woman in a boat speaking English to a guy with a gun saying, "Don't shoot me," and then being shot to death, The progress that has been made. Taiwan transferred from an autocratic one-party state to a democracy without significant violence, without hardly any violence. If you can tell me another country that's done that in the same success rate, I'll give you a cookie. We segued into democracy, and maybe that's why it's underappreciated. Even when Chen Shui-bian was shot in 2004, I was on the street minutes after we heard about it on television because across the street was the DPP headquarters where I was living at the time. And I went out and the police had started to close off the road and there were people talking about a coup. In Kaohsiung, there was a guy, a Li Wei, who got in a car and rammed into the justice ministries. They were really, really angry about the outcome of this razor-sharp election, right? But even that wasn't enough to destroy the democracy that had taken hold. And even that is something I'm proud of. Because of a lack of this, so many people in Taiwan are too enthusiastic about the praise from a foreigner. I get in a taxi and the driver will be like, 定居在台湾吗？对，台湾老婆吗？对，台湾好吗？台湾是好吗？对不对？对，台湾比美国好是不是？有很多东西比美国好。健保 I love 健保。Jianbao saved my life on more than one occasion for a ridiculously cheap price. So thank you, Jianbao. And we don't have that in America. We don't have guns, which is wonderful.
So would you consider yourself more at this point culturally Taiwanese or American?
I refuse to be put into either of those boxes because I'm neither and both at the same time. We need to stop thinking of everything in black and white and understand that everything's gray.
Even my shirt.
But it's really true, you know. In my family, my mother-in-law is a Tonglin. She had her own temple for many, many years. She's Hakka, a blue-leaning person. But her son and her daughter both converted to Christianity. Married a Taiwanese guy who's very green. Another daughter married me.
Oh, God.
This is a Taiwanese family. We are Taiwan. And let's fight for that.
Is that diversity and pride of being multicultural and ethnically and religiously open, is that what makes Taiwan Taiwan?
Yes. Bingo. I think we finally hit it on the head. I say the stories, the people, the history, but it's all that in a mixture. It's the uniqueness of that. When you put all that 400-year history, that's the soul of Taiwan. Chinese, Taiwanese, me.
Whatever you are.
And you can be Taiwanese because we are Taiwan. We are the world. It's not anything like any other country in Asia that I've visited where they have a concrete identity. Japan or Thailand, for example, based on the monarchy. We are fluid. We are all things to all men, as the Bible might put it.
Do you think someone like me could become Taiwanese?
We can start by changing our attitudes towards the wonderful Dongnangya people that already live amongst us. Many of these people speak Chinese, speak Taiwanese. They've been in the country for a long time. We should start treating them as Taiwanese. And as a little secret, the more we open up our society, the less China will be able to claim that we are Chinese.
Do you feel like this is a place that you could stay for the rest of your life, or do you plan on moving back to the States at some point?
So moving back would be a weird way of putting it because I never really lived there.
That's true.
I was considering it in 2020, and then COVID hit, and I watched as America dealt with that and the way that we dealt with it. We put on masks without complaining, and you had people not willing to even do the most basic thing for their fellow citizens. I've had some friends who did move back to Canada and other places recently, and they're all on their way back because they realized the direction that the West is going is not the correct direction. We are still moving in the correct trajectory. I'm willing to take the Tridian because the Yodians are better.
What are some of those things that you feel like Taiwan could improve upon?
We have drivers in Kaohsiung who think that red lights are decorative. It would be really helpful if we could get rid of the world's largest coal-producing plant in Taichung. 今天有一点可怜，高雄空气污染有一点严重，每个冬天都是差不多这样子的。Keep going with the green spaces, beautification, because when the KMT first came over, they built buildings for convenience, and you can find some of them over there, the shacks that the soldiers lived in. Huge, 8 people in a family all living in this horrifically tiny, that translated later into buildings that were thrown together. So there's some sections of this city that are not well thought out, to put it mildly. We need more people to have that thought of, I'm building this building that's going to outlast me. I'm doing this that's going to go on beyond my lifetime. We're just one more ant in this, cosmic game. We get a brief moment of light, and then we go back to the darkness that we were in for, 4 billion years. And we're not special, but this place is special. So let's do things that further that.
What's your favorite Taiwanese food?
Oh my God. Well, eggs and tomato. And then I jied in Tabasco. My kids are, you put Tabasco on everything.
Yeah, it's good.
It is.
Try it.